Hey, if you got one of these, probably 2012 through even current year model 2023 Jeep Wrangler with the 3.6 motor, and you're experiencing some oil leakage dripping off the bell housing area, kind of appears to be in the area of the rear main seal, or you may have been told by the quickie lube place that you need an oil pan gasket. It's probably not the case, but I got a great video that may be helpful. You're watching the Car Doctor channel. Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim. I'm here at my YouTube studio for the repair shop of Donor Automotive in Anchorage, Alaska. And we've got this 2012 Jeep Wrangler Sahara Edition. It's equipped with the bad boy 3.6. And this customer complained of an oil leak, leaving a nice little size puddle every night under the front area, kind of down around the bell housing, kind of center of the front of the vehicle between the two tires. As stated, the majority of oil leakage is obvious around the bell housing, kind of rear main oil seal area that you'll see accumulating on the ground pretty much right below the oil drain plug area. But this oil is more than likely coming from just below the intake plenum area from the oil filter adapter assembly. Okay, the oil filter adapter assembly is right below here. You've got your plenum here, the lower intake below that, and then below that, the oil filter adapter. You can see right here where the oil filter goes. That's the front end of it. That's the front top portion of the adapter. And what's happening is these adapters are cracking, the seals are failing. Once in a while, the oil pressure sensors that are mounted to it begin to leak, but the most common cause of the leakage that you're probably experiencing is the adapter housing itself. The adapter housing is, again, accessed by removing the upper plenum, the lower intake. You're going to need to replace the gaskets associated with that, and then below that, the adapter housing assembly. All right, here we have the Chrysler adapter housing for this particular year model, and this is pretty much the same one across the board for the 3.6 motor. There's your Chrysler part number. They do make a Dorman all aluminum housing, but I haven't tried that, to be honest with you. But there's your housing. It tends to crack in this area and leaks oil there. If you are replacing it, it is required that you transfer your sensors here if they're not leaking, or you can just purchase new sensors and put those in. One thing to note, and it comes in the package, is some instructions. If you're older, 2014 through 2021 applications require this O-ring here, the inlet O-ring, to be replaced. They give you a red O-ring in the packaging, and you're supposed to remove this one here and transfer the red one on there, which is a little smaller diameter. Don't ask me any more about that, I really don't know. Then you'll need a set of upper and lower intake plenum gaskets. It does come with a filter installed and a new upper filter cover deal. So that's pretty much a plug and play unit there. So it is kind of difficult to see the leakage here. It's going to be pooled up down below this filter housing. And what you can do is you can take a long, like, dipstick or something else and stick it down beside here. You should be able to wind up in a big pool of oil. The valley probably holds a couple quarts of oil before it begins to spill over the back and leak onto the bell housing and then down off of that. So you'll see it dripping off around the transmission, down the tranny pan in the back of the motor. But you know, a sure sign is if you have a lot of oil pooled up here, You know, a small amount of oil can be spilled when the oil's changed here, but you're not going to have 2 quarts of oil like this down here. And I would suppose that if you park on an incline, or if you've been, you know, doing mountain climbing with this thing, then that would even exacerbate the issue. It would cause a large amount to spill over the back, and you'd have some obvious leakage when you got back home. So anyway, we're going to pull off this intake plenum. We'll take a closer look in there, show you what we got going on. That's about it. So I have started by removing the main intake air duct, unplugging a couple of the sensors attached to it, a couple vacuum hoses here. I'm going to pop this electrical connector for the, basically this is the injector harness. Pop this little cover off here, insulated job. Okay, now we remove this this vent here on the left rear of the valve cover. Remove this vent tube, remove all 6 coil connectors, remove all 6 injector connectors. Pop up the little red retainer clip on each injector, then depress the tab and release each injector connector, and then gently pry up the attaching points of the harness where it is secured to the harness retainers. I'm going to take a vacuum and vacuum all this crap out before I pull that plenum, or the lower intake. You got to remove all the injector connectors. Here's an individual injector connector. You got to pull back the red retainer lock and then depress here. Pull back the red retainer and depress there, or pull back the red retainer and get a 90-degree pick and get up under that and pop it loose. So you got to remove all 6 injectors. You got to remove all these harness clips that retain the harnesses. You got to remove the high pressure fuel line, which requires, oh man, my glove's so messed up. Right here, oh gosh, what do we got here? Oh goodness sakes. All right, high pressure fuel line. You got to depress this lock here to unlock the high pressure fuel line off the end of the injector rail. All the rest of these, all the ignition coil connectors, so that you can get those out of the way. And then we've got like I believe 8 lower intake retaining bolts that we now need to remove to pull the lower intake plenum, or the lower intake. And then we can get out our adapter. One more in the back. One lower intake. Now we can get a good look at the oil filter adapter and the oil pooled up below it. You can see back here, that's where it runs out on top of the bell housing. We'll be able to see the accumulated oil a little better once we got the housing removed. But basically at this point, we're gonna remove the housing by first disconnecting the 2 sensor wires in the back, and then removing the retaining bolts, and then we'll eventually have to remove that coolant hose off the end of it there. But we can do that when we get it pulled out a little ways. We're just going to remove the 5 inverted Torx mounting bolts for the filter housing. There we go. Now the filter housing should come out. You gotta wiggle it a little bit because there is one O-ring on the end of the housing that slips into the passageway for the return oil. Okay. There we are. Now we can get at this return hose. Pull it out of the way so we don't get oil, coolant in the oil. But we've already drained it enough where that shouldn't leak. And there's your unit. All right, I did go ahead and replace both the temp sensor and oil pressure switch located in the adapter housing itself. And as per the instructions for this year model vehicle, we replaced the black O-ring off of the, I don't know, it's the oil fill tube or something they call it. With the orange O-ring, and then we'll lube that O-ring. We've got the base all cleaned up, and we're going to get this reinstalled on the vehicle. We got our coolant hose reconnected, our sensors reconnected. I'm going to just position the unit and gently press it into place. Now just torque it evenly. Okay, now we're going to torque all 5 oil filter housing to cylinder block attaching bolts, 5 of them, to 106 foot-pounds. Let's see here. I'm sorry, 106 inch-pounds. Don't try foot-pounds. Okay, Now we'll replace the plenum and intake gaskets. All right, let's put this thing on. Make sure all my wiring's out of the way. And we run those down and then evenly torque the intake to also 106 inch-pounds torque. All right, now we reconnect our injectors and the coils and any other harnesses laying there before we install the upper intake. And your fuel line here. And finally, we reinstall our insulating shield deal there. And we're ready to reinstall the upper plenum. Okay, you can do yourself and your customer a favor by cleaning the throttle body while you have the intake off. But now we're ready to install this bad boy. All right, now we torque our upper in sequence to 89 inch-pounds. All right, now we just route some of our hoses. We've got a vent hose here. We've got some PCV vents here. This one, like that. We got some additional hoses over here, and whoa, we've still got some bracketry we got to reconnect and a couple larger electrical connectors, but we're getting close here. All right, now we reinstall this bracket off the side of the intake. Probably the stupidest part about this job is this bracket, which I went ahead and pulled this entire battery tray back in order to access the two studs that retain it against the valve cover, but that may not be necessary. It just was for me. Not a huge fan of the engineering going on here. But this fuel line goes over top of this, and you snake that down there. All right, secure that. This is the conglomeration I came up with to access these two lower bracket nuts. Snake that down there. Now, stick our heater hoses down there, and reconnect them. One goes here, one goes way down here. Now we're going to reconnect our electrical connector here, and I think I should note that when removing this electrical connector, you have to pull back on the red tab first, then you have to depress this part of the gray plastic and pull this retainer back to get it to release from the male part of the connector. That's how that comes apart. It's a little bit tricky, but if you take your time and take about 3 hours, you can get that unhooked. Super easy. Can reinstall our little noise dampener insulator doohickey back there. Okay, we're making progress. Okay, there's a air temp sensor on the bottom of this intake to air duct. Connectors down here. So just got to reach under there, reconnect it, make sure it's secure. All right, all that's left is to, we'll go ahead and refill the cooling system, double check, make sure the codes are cleared, which I think they have been with the battery disconnect, and go ahead and start this thing up, clean things up, take a look, monitor it, and make sure that the repair is good. I think it is, and hope this video has been helpful. I appreciate you watching. Catch you next time. Take care.